Last class we have started surface chemistry. So today we are going to continue with this lesson, and today is our lecture 30. Last class we have discussed about adsorption, absorption, desorption, sorption, factors on which adsorption depends and so on. So I told you that we are going to discuss the effect of pressure and temperature specifically and separately. So the effect of pressure is being explained by Freundlich's adsorption isotherm. And according to this, if we plot a graph between x by m and pressure at a constant temperature, and therefore it is known as isotherm. What is x? X represents the mass of adsorbate, okay, and small m represents mass of adsorbent. And what this ratio represents? The ratio says extent of adsorption. So the ratio of mass of adsorbate to the mass of adsorbent versus pressure, when the graph is plotted, the nature of graph is like this. On the basis of this graph, what are the conclusions? Can we say that at low pressure, x by m is directly proportional to pressure because it linearly increases, and at high pressure we can say that x by m is equal to constant, because you can see here that it becomes saturated, and therefore it is also known as saturated pressure. So at high pressure, x by m versus pressure, when we plot, then we get a constant over here. But what happens at an intermediate pressure? At an intermediate pressure, x by m is directly proportional to p to the power 1 by n. Just a fraction is given where the value of n lies from 0.6 to 1, and x by m is equal to kp to the power 1 by n. Taking logarithm, it will become log x by m is equal to log k plus 1 by n log p. Okay, now you can see the equation is in the form of straight line. Y is equal to mx plus c. So if we plot a graph between log x by m and log p, we get a straight line where the slope is 1 by n and the intercept will be log p. Okay, very important, my dear students. This question comes under 2 to 3 marks, that explain Freundlich's adsorption isotherm graphically. And when you are asked with this question, you must draw both these graphs. First of all, this initial graph you have to show that how does it increase linearly, and afterwards you have to show this straight line equation, and you have to write these 3 points as well, that at low pressure directly proportional, high pressure it is constant, and at an intermediate pressure there is a specific value which is given. And yesterday in our previous lecture we have discussed that what are the factors, nature of adsorbate, adsorbent, surface area and so on, and this was pressure, and what is the effect of temperature. And when effect of temperature is shown at constant pressure, then the graph is known as adsorption isobars. As you all know, we have studied in thermodynamics that if the graphs are plotted at a constant pressure, it is known as isobars. And in this case, for physical and chemical adsorption, in both the cases the plots are different. Here x by m versus temperature. For physisorption, the nature of graph is like this, but for chemical adsorption, this is for chemisorption and this is for physisorption. Okay. Now, why the nature of plots or graph is different? So, in case of physisorption, you can see the extent of adsorption decreases with increasing temperature. As we had discussed in our previous lecture that the process of adsorption is exothermic. So, according to Le-Chatelier's principle, with increase in temperature, the extent of adsorption decreases. So, as per the law, as per the decorum. But here, what is going to happen? Why it is so? First of all, it increases, attains the peak, but thereafter it decreases. So, if you remember, I had discussed that chemisorption, there is a force of attraction between the adsorbate and adsorbent, so that there is a chemical bond. So, in this case, what is there? Activation energy is required. In this case, there is no requirement of activation energy. So therefore, it goes as per the rule, as per Le-Chatelier's principle. But in that case, due to requirement of activation energy, the graphs are different. I hope that you have observed the difference and you must notice it carefully. So after this, isotherms and isobars, finally applications of adsorption, and most of the applications I have discussed during the introductory points itself. Number one is production of high vacuum. Okay, production of high vacuum. So the first application is production of high vacuum. Then, as I said, that it is used for the mask, for the mines people, they use mask, and mask is made up of charcoal. So charcoal is used as an adsorbent. Dehumidizers like silica gels and so on. Then for decolorizing the materials, like sugar and so on, its impurities and colors are getting absorbed when it is passed through animal charcoal. Separation of inert gases, separation of inert gases. Then froth flotation process in metallurgy chapter we are going to study. Chromatography is also based on adsorbent process. So these are the important applications of adsorption. Learn it, all the definitions, all the terminology, distinguish between physical and chemical adsorption, adsorption isotherms and adsorption isobars, and then applications of adsorption. After adsorption, our next topic is catalysis. As you all know that the substance which influences the rate of a chemical reaction without itself undergoing any permanent change is known as catalyst, and the process is known as catalysis. So most importantly, a catalyst can be positive or negative. As the name itself suggests, positive catalyst means it will increase the rate of reaction. Why it will increase the rate of reaction? Because positive catalyst decreases the activation energy. We have discussed in chemical kinetics that suppose this is the activation energy in absence of a catalyst, and if we use a positive catalyst, you can see here the activation energy gets lowered and therefore the rate of reaction becomes faster. When I talk about a negative catalyst, then it decreases the rate Why it is so? Because it enhances the activation energy. So in this case what happens, that you can see in absence of catalyst, and when a negative catalyst is there, then the activation energy gets increased. Types of catalysis. Here comes number 1, homogeneous catalysis. As the name suggests, homogeneous means when the reactants, products and the catalyst all are in same phase. As for example, sulfur dioxide plus oxygen, they form sulfur trioxide, and the catalyst also is a gas, that is nitric oxide. Okay, what is the mechanism of this homogeneous catalysis? In this case what happens, in step 1, the catalyst, it combines with one of the reactants to form an intermediate. Suppose NO2. This is the intermediate which is formed over here. This intermediate in step 2 combined with another reactant and the product is formed and the catalyst is regenerated. As you all know, catalyst is never used up in any chemical reaction and rather it is regenerated at the end of the reaction. So when the reactants, products and the catalyst all are in same phase, then the reaction is said to be under homogeneous catalysis. Some more reactions you can see. Hydrolysis of ester. This is aqueous. Water is also liquid. Catalyst can be acid or a base and it forms acetic acid plus ethanol and both are in aqueous state. So all are in the same phase including the catalyst. Such reactions are said to be following homogeneous catalysis. When I talk about heterogeneous catalysis, then what happens? In this case, the reactants, products and the catalyst, they do not belong to the same phase. As for example, Haber's process for manufacturing ammonia. Okay. Now you can see reactants and products, they are in gaseous phase, but the catalyst is iron. What is the role of molybdenum? Molybdenum is used as a promoter. So what is a promoter? The substance which increases the efficiency of a catalyst is known as promoter, and which decreases the efficiency of a catalyst is known as catalytic poison. Similarly, hydrocarbons unsaturated, when they undergo hydrogenation reaction, you can see reactants and products, they are gases, but the catalyst is nickel, platinum or palladium, and all of them are solids at room temperature, and such reactions are coming under heterogeneous catalysis. Now, what is the mechanism of this heterogeneous catalysis? First of all, what happens? These reactants, step 1, they undergo diffusion, as gases can diffuse easily. So first of all, they are diffused, that is the step 1. Second step, these diffused gases, they would be adsorbed by this solid catalyst. So the second step is adsorption. Third step will be the formation of intermediate by the chemical reaction. And finally, desorption of the products, and so that the entire reaction can be managed out easily. So let's see what actually happens in heterogeneous catalysis. The mechanism I would show by this diagrammatic representation so that you can easily learn it. This is the catalyst with its open surface. Catalysts, they are porous, they have open surface. A and B, they are the reactants, reacting species. And when these reacting species, the catalyst, it absorbs them. What happens now? They are absorbed over here. Then the chemical reaction occurs, and when chemical reaction occurs, then the formation of intermediate. Okay, so this is the intermediate activated complex actually, and finally desorption, and after the desorption what happens? The catalyst is separated with its open surface as well, and the product is formed. Okay, so this is the sequence of reaction which occurs during heterogeneous catalysis. So first of all, the catalyst, it absorbs the reacting species. After absorption, this is the scenario. Then the chemical reaction occurs to form the intermediate, and finally desorption to form the product, and the catalyst is separated out. So these two types, homogeneous catalysis and heterogeneous catalysis, examples along with the mechanism by which they take place, very important for you all. And then one of the types of catalysis is autocatalysis. This is also very important. As the name itself suggests, autocatalysis, that means the catalyst is present during the reaction itself. As for example, hydrolysis of ester, and it forms acid and alcohol. Okay, and this reaction is very slow at the beginning, but afterwards it becomes fast. This question is given in text question of NCERT, that why the hydrolysis of ester is slow at the beginning but afterwards it becomes fast. Why? Because the catalyst is present in the reaction itself. This is one of the products. So at the beginning, at T tends to 0, when the reaction has not even started, the rate of reaction is slow. But as the time proceeds and the formation of acid starts, then naturally what is going to happen? The rate of reaction will increase. And one more question is there, that during Haber's process, why carbon monoxide should be removed as early as possible? Because carbon monoxide acts as a catalytic poison and therefore it decreases the rate of the reaction. So homogeneous catalysis, heterogeneous catalysis, autocatalysis, induced catalysis, and apart from this, activity and selectivity of catalyst. Okay, activity of catalyst means its ability to absorb, especially during chemisorption, and selectivity, as the name itself suggests, specificity. Just see an example. When alkynes like ethyne is hydrogenated in presence of nickel, then we get ethane, directly alkane. But hydrogenation can be stopped up to alkene only if you use mild reducing agent, and that is Lindelar's catalyst. So if you change the catalyst, the product also gets changed, and this phenomenon, this is nothing but known as selectivity or specificity of catalyst. And one more is there, that is shape selective catalyst, or shape selective process is catalysis. So the catalysis which depends upon the pore structure of reactants and products is known as shape selective catalysis. And here the most common example is zeolites. And these zeolites, they are microporous aluminosilicates and they have honeycomb-like structure. And therefore, they are highly porous, so the rate of reaction they can easily enhance or increase. And most common zeolite is ZSM5. Zeolite sieve of molecular porosity, most common one, which is used for the conversion of alcohols into gasoline for industrial purposes. So my dear students, today we could complete the catalysis, its type, mechanism, applications, activity, selectivity, and shape selective catalysis. Its most common example is zeolite. So up to here, all the topics and terminology of adsorption and catalysis, try to learn and come prepared thoroughly for the next lecture. Thank you so much.